Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Bard from the Barn weekly review. I'm here with Aaron Sidwell, the producer on this project, and it is Friday, the 1st of May. And Aaron, we have had a glorious week of submissions. Why don't you tell us some more?
Oh, it's been an amazing week. It really has for our second week as well. You know, I thought we got off to a huge start with our first real villain from Adam Sopp, who we'll be talking to in a bit. And then we saw really one of our, truly hard hitting pieces with Elin. And then we moved into something completely ridiculous and completely bonkers with Ryan Bennett running around,
Absolutely.
a park in London. And then we saw Ben locked up as Richard II in his bedroom eating porridge, and then we finished off with Puck bringing some pizza. So what more could you want from Bar from the Barn? And we are breaking new ground with Shakespeare. So should we get our first guest of the week on, Mr. Adam Sopp?
Let's do it.
Adam, what is it about Iago that draws you in so much as an actor?
He's really nasty, which is always fun to play. I think what I like about Iago is that it's just his every move is like, how can I do one over on this guy? Like, how can I get myself forward and get him back? It's quite a simple thing to play because you know what his objective is the entire time. He's just playing. He wants to win. He's out for himself.
And tell us about your mysterious flatmate, Richard Corgan, who I've on the phone, who's helping us out, who happens to be a cinematographer. That must have, you're the luckiest man alive, really, to have made a short film in your flat.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I said to him that I was going to be doing this, and I said, how would you feel about maybe filming it? He was like, yeah, absolutely. And it was funny because he actually came up with the genius bit at the end of like suddenly being in the mirror and him being in a full suit. We were kind of halfway through filming it, and he'd come up with the mirror idea, which was really good. And then so he just went, hang on, you've got to be in a suit. You've got to look pinstripe, like absolutely bang on. I was like, it's a great idea. So yeah, I'm really lucky to be living with somebody who runs a self-tape company and has a really lovely camera and lights and the ability to edit so well. And he's been helping you out with lots of the videos.
Yeah, God bless Richard Corgan.
Absolutely. We've been really lucky to have Rich come on for the entire process. He's further down the line. He's joining us as a director as well. So we are.
Yeah, I think he's upstairs rehearsing right now with his actors for the next section of Bard from the Barn. Very exciting.
That is all as a producer that you can ask for in these times, is to just know that your people are working at God knows what time.
Yeah, man.
Dude, both you and I did Henry V at the Barn, which was an incredible experience, and we were lucky to work with Hal, who is another producer on this show. But we also did later that year, we did the famous Scottish play, of course, we mustn't
Indeed.
say. And we were joined by director Joe Pitcher, who has joined the Bard from the Barn team for this process and was the director of your video. So what was it like for you to work with Joe again in this new, bizarre format?
It was good. I mean, Joe and I go way back. So Joe and I were the same year at drama school. We both studied at the Bristol Old Vic. And so working with him last year on the Scottish play was interesting because all of a sudden I'd trained with him as an actor and he was directing. So when it came to do this, it was really fun, to be honest, because, I mean, this is the bit I shouldn't tell you as producer, is that actually we spent most of the time just catching up and having a chat. But when we did do the work, it was really great because Joe is very, very good at just getting on board with the text. And that's kind of, on a process like this, when you are working at a distance, that's kind of one of the most important things. So we really kind of focused in on what Iago was saying, but then putting it in that situation of a lockdown. We talked a lot about ideas of how we could make it isolation, and we kept on coming to the fact that this is a moment where Iago is just turning to the audience and saying, "This is my plan." And so we felt like actually we didn't need to do a huge amount to it, and we could just have it. I mean, originally the idea that Joe and I came up with was that Iago, because he says at the end of his conversation with Rodrigo, he says, go get thy money. And it's talking about making money. We were like, maybe Iago is like selling toilet roll on the black market. And so we had this idea that I was going to start the video like putting toilet rolls into jiffy bags and writing an address on them. But it just all seemed a bit convoluted and a bit mad. So we dropped that one. But what we did come up with is this idea that he's saying his plan to camera, and then right at the end, we suddenly kind of like cut away from him looking down the camera, and we see him talking, in fact, to what's that Tom Hanks film Castaway? And it's like he's got a Wilson with him, and like we're saying, I'll get a grapefruit, and we draw a face on the grapefruit, and he's doing the whole thing. And so when it came to filming it, that was kind of the idea we had. And I said to him, it might work, it might not. We'll film it both ways just in case. That was when Rich said, "Whoa, the grapefruit sounds a bit terrible. Why don't we try doing this mirror shot?" And so that's kind of how the process all evolved. So yeah, I mean, Joe was really helpful, and I have to say the two of them really were both invaluable in this. I couldn't have done it without either of them. So yeah, big thanks to Rich, big thanks to Joe.
That's absolutely amazing. And we are so pleased to have had you already on Bar from the Barn twice.
I know, right?
Adam Sopp.
Yeah,
and
I know.
We will we'll definitely be seeing some more work from you in the future. We're going to watch your video now. It is mind-blowingly dark at times, but it's so intense, and it's everything that we want to see from Iago. So I hope your taste of playing Iago is going to spurn you on for us to see the full thing in the future.
I'm going to be sending this to every single theatre producer and casting director in the country. Okay, hey, look, I can do it. So somebody let me play Iago, please.
Well, we're going to check that out now. Ladies and gentlemen, Adam Sopp as Iago in Othello.
Go to, farewell. Do you hear, Rodrigo? No more talk of drowning. Go to.
Farewell. Thus do I ever make my fool my purse. For I mine own gain knowledge should profane if I would time expend with such a snipe, but for my sport and profit. I hate the Moor, and it is thought abroad that twixt my sheets he has done my office. I know not if it be true, but I've a mere suspicion in that kind, do as if for surety. He holds me well, the better shall my purpose work on him. Cassio's a proper man. Let me see now. To gain his place and to plume up my will in double knavery. How? Let's see. After some time to abuse Othello's ear that he is too familiar with his wife. He hath a person and a smooth disposed to be suspected, framed to make women false. The Moor is of a free and open nature, that thinks men honest that seem to be so, and will as tenderly be led by the nose as asses are. I have it. It is engendered. Hell and night must bring this monstrous birth to the world's light.
So we're here with Elin Phillips, who plays Isabella in her monologue of From Measure for Measure. And so, Elin, my question for you is, what was it about your speech that made you choose it in the first place? Because it's quite, it's quite harrowing.
I've always loved the play Measure for Measure, but it's not that widely known. It's not performed that often. And so I thought it was a great chance for people to maybe hear a speech that they're not that familiar with. And also, you guys set us a task of choosing a speech and then putting it in the context of now. So that was a really fascinating challenge for me. What is it like if, like Isabella, you've just been harassed and you're living with a person that's done that to you? How do you survive that, and what do you do? And that is a reality for many men and women during this time. So I just thought it was a very important thing to address.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's the first time we've addressed, I think, quite a serious topic. We had a speech last week that was, around the NHS and around humanity. But this is the first time we've seen a speech involving something like domestic abuse, and I think it's really important to put it in a relatable context. And when we spoke to Phil and we spoke to yourself and we got the videos through, we had one that was quite a wide shot and we had another that was quite close up. And we were given the two options, and I spoke to Phil and I spoke to Hal Chambers and I said, my instinct is the one with the phone in the hand, because we're with you then. We're really in it with you. And so how was it to perform to just kind of your camera? There's no audience and your phone is this close to you. How was that experience for you?
It was very strange because the little Shakespeare I've done is quite heightened. It's very truthful, but there's a theatrical element to it. So doing it straight to your phone, you've got to be really truthful and to have that integrity to it, especially when you're dealing with such a delicate subject like this. I really enjoyed working with Phil. I've never met him before. We just had a couple of Zoom meetings and he seemed really on board, and we discussed a lot about this type of thing. So it was very strange. I live with my partner and I had to get into that space of being quite emotional and vulnerable. So I just say, just leave me alone for a couple of hours because I need to do this. But it was very cathartic in a way to do the speech as well.
Absolutely. And I just think that the job you did on it was just so beautiful, and it's really important that this message comes from Bar from the Barn as well. We see, so much fun and so much comedy, but that's not necessarily the full reality of lockdown right now. We've seen a 25% rise in this during this time, so it's really important that we had that message out there as well. We should just say before we go into the video that this is just a reenactment. However, there are some images that people may find, or some themes that people may find distressing. So if you don't want to watch this video, please look away now, because we are now going to go and watch Elin's beautiful performance again.
To whom should I complain? Did I tell this? Who would believe me? Oh, perilous mouths, that bear in them one and the self-same tongue, either of condemnation or approof, bidding the law make curtsy to their will, hooking both right and wrong to the appetite to follow as it draws. I'll to my brother, though he hath fallen by prompture of the blood, yet hath he in him such a mind of honour, that had he 20 heads to tender down on 20 bloody blocks, he'll yield them up before his sister should her body stoop to such abhorred pollution. Then, Isabel, live chaste, and brother, die. More than our brother is our chastity. I'll tell him yet of Angelo's request, and fit his mind to death for his soul's rest.
Ryan, welcome to Bar from the Barn on Friday
Hello.
night.
Yeah.
Your video this week was just so much fun. It's so great to see these videos taken, you know, particularly this piece from King Lear that's got such weight to it in the play, and it's such this turning
Right.
point for this character. And we said it in the premise of this guy having gone out for his second walk and he's going to be arrested for it. That's what this show is literally about. It's so much fun.
Right.
But I'm on not many people will know this, but we have a WhatsApp group that has the actor in and the director in, but it also has myself and Emma Smith, who is our production coordinator in. And I was seeing you trying to do rehearsals, and part of the conversation was, I think this is quite a popular place that I'm trying to record in. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about the location in which you shot this.
Yeah, it's funny because I thought that I'd found a pretty sort of hidden area of a park. I'm near a couple commons, and I thought, I'm by these train tracks, there'll be no one there. I think it might have been a pickup spot. I think there might have been a few people sort of moving through and making contact, so I sort of realized this as I was filming one day, and I was going, why aren't these people leaving? And I sort of made eye contact and waved to these people hiding in the bushes. And when they didn't wave back, I went, oh, that's right. Yeah, whoops, that's probably going on there. So,
So you weren't you were the least dodgy guy in the area at the time.
I think I was, but I think I probably successfully made some passers-by think that I was a lunatic. So,
oh, you had us convinced. I remember the first time
good.
me and Harry watched the video. We were like, okay, this is King Lear, very sad play. It's fantastic, and it's Ryan Bennett as hell.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah, no, it's fantastic. I'm wondering. I mean, this is the third time you're back at the Barn Theatre. Can't seem to keep you away. Daddy long legs.
I know.
Being honest, what keeps you coming back, Ryan? And are you enjoying yourself being the mainstay?
I am. I love it. I'd love to keep coming back. It's a great place. There's a great sense of community. I love Cirencester, and I feel so much for this theatre. So I'm very happy to continually be involved in whatever the Barn will have me do.
Fantastic. Yeah, it's great to kind of keep this going on, and we're going to go straight to Ryan's video now. Ryan is playing Edgar in King Lear, doing a crazy little monologue. Here we go.
I heard myself proclaimed, and by the happy hollow of a tree, escaped the hunt. When no port is free, no place that guard and most unusual vigilance does not attend my taking. When I may escape, I will preserve myself. And I methought to take the basest and most poorest shape that ever penury and contempt of man brought near to beast. My face I'll grime with filth, blanket my loins, I'll form hair in knots, and with presented nakedness I'll face the winds and persecutions of the sky. The country gives me proof and precedent of bedlam beggars, who with roaring voices strike in their numbed and mortified bare arms, pins, wooden pricks, nails, sprigs of rosemary. And with this horrible object, from low farms, poor pelting villages, sheepcotes and minns, sometime with lunatic bands, sometime with prayers, enforce their charity. Oh, holy God, poor Tom. That's something yet. Edgar and nothing else.
We are here with Jess Daniels, who is directing Ben Boscovich in his monologue from Richard II. Jess, this is weird because you were meant to be in rehearsals for a show here at the Barn at the moment. What's that like for you? It must be a mix of feelings.
Yeah, it's totally bonkers. It really feels to me like a parallel world to think that we were supposed to be Yeah, I mean, what would we be now? Second or third week, I think, of rehearsals, and I was saying to my partner that I keep having panic dreams about not being ready, because obviously we stopped the day after we'd done recalls, so yeah, it's very weird. But I think there's a lot of people have said that this is kind of, I guess, a nice opportunity to take some time to reflect and to kind of, I guess, take stock of things. And so I'm trying to focus on that and focus on what we can get out of this rather than what we might have been doing.
Yeah, and I'm sure we haven't seen the end of the Mozart question, that's for sure.
Yes.
Who knows what's in store.
So Jess, we saw Ben's beautiful performance in this video, and it really was. I was just so struck by the simplicity in how he delivered this to camera, and the minute I saw it, I was just like, it just blew me away how obviously relatable it is, because Richard is in isolation at this point, but how he conveyed that in a modern context. And obviously that's a huge collaboration between you guys. So how has it been for you directing in this format, as opposed to being with the actor and having multiple conversations about the mentality, but also the performance aspect of it?
Yeah, I mean, it's totally a very different way of working, obviously, but I think there's pros to that as well as the cons. This was interesting because Ben knows Richard II, whereas it was a play that I didn't know at all. So there was something kind of interesting, I think, about coming at it with sort of one person having more knowledge and one person having less knowledge, because it sort of meant that we could challenge, I think, each other's, I don't know, maybe ideas or preconceptions. I think we both knew that we wanted it to be quite simple, as you say, because the context in the play is so similar to sort of where we are now. It felt like to try and put too much on that was unnecessary. But one thing we did talk about was sort of the different things that people are doing in isolation, and whether there was anything to be found in. We had an idea originally about kind of interspersing the monologue with maybe sort of shots of things people might be doing, like exercises or like reading or whatever. And then actually, once the monologue came through and I had a little look about sort of putting different images in, and it just didn't need it. It was just, I think he tells that story so well and so simply, and all we kind of wanted just to get was a sense of passing of time, which is where the idea of when he's eating and sort of his shirt changes, and then we go into that second half. But other than that, it felt like it didn't really need it.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's so interesting having people who really know the play, and then people who don't. But also with this project, massively, we're working with people that have just never had any kind of experience doing Shakespeare, or haven't had any for 10 years. And it's so cool seeing some of the stuff that we're getting back, because people don't have the preconception coming in, and they're just like, oh yeah, well, this is just about that. And we've seen videos and had conversations with directors that are like, oh, I've never seen that performance of that character before, and I hope I never do again, but it's just really nice to have that fresh take on it. So we're gonna see Ben's work now, and your work, Jess. It's an incredible video. We just loved watching it and loved getting it. And we should say that the original idea for the video was to have a song on it by Frank Ocean that I had never heard of before, and I must have played about 40 times this week as a result.
Oh,
so
great.
Thank you
it's
for
a good
that.
song.
It's such a good song.
All Ben's idea.
Yeah, but we're going to check that work out now. Thank you so much for joining us on Bar from the Barn, and we're going to see loads more of your work in the coming weeks.
Thanks.
I've been studying how I may compare this prison where I live unto the world, and thought, because the world is populous, and here is not a creature but myself, I cannot do it. Yet I'll hammer it out. My brain, I'll prove female to my soul the father. And these two beget a generation of still breeding thoughts, and these same thoughts people this little world in humours like the people of this world, for no thought is contented. Thoughts tending to ambition, they do plot unlikely wonders. How these vain weak nails might tear a passage through the flinty ribs of this hard world, my ragged prison walls, and for they cannot die in their own pride. Thus play I in one person many people, and none contented. Sometimes am I king, then treasons make me wish myself a beggar, and so I am. Then crushing penury persuades me I was better when a king, then I am kinged again. And by think that I am unkinged by Bolingbroke, and straight am nothing. But whate'er I be, nor I, nor any man, that but man with nothing shall be pleased till he be eased with being nothing. Music do I hear?
Empty inside, I don't feel a thing. It's a bit weird, don't know where to begin. I think it's safe to say I'm lost and I'll be on my way. I'll run and take the second exit towards danger, towards danger.
Keep time. How sour sweet music is when time is broke and no proportion kept. So is it in the music of men's lives. And here have I the daintiness of ear to check time broke in a disordered string. Yet for the concord of my state and time had not an ear to hear my true time broke. A wasted time. And now doth time waste me? For now hath time made me his numbering clock. My thoughts are minutes, and with sighs they jar into the watches of mine eyes, the outward watch, whereto my finger like a dial's point is pointing still in cleansing them from tears. Now, sir, the sound that tells what hour it is are clamorous groans which strike upon my heart, which is the bell. So sighs and tears and groans show minutes, times and hours. But my time runs posting on in Bolingbroke's proud joy, while I stand falling here, his jack of the clock. This music mads me, let it sound no more. For though it have holp madmen to their wits, in me it seems it will make wise men mad. Yet blessings on his heart that gives it me, but 'tis a sign of love, and love to Richard is a strange brooch in this all-hating world.
So empty inside, I don't feel a thing. It's a bit weird, don't know where to begin. I think it's safe to say I'm lost and I'll be on my way.
Tom, thanks for joining us. During the process of making this video, I got a very, very panicked message from your director, Joe O'Malley, who happens to be a really old friend of mine, kind of saying to me, I'm really worried. My actor is cycling around, filming himself in semi-darkness. I think he might die. So I was over the moon when I got this video through to reveal that you didn't die making it, and that we have to be very clear that this was part of your designated exercise during that day. But you did have to film this at quite a specific time of day, owing to lighting and wanting it to look like night, but not be pitch black of night. So we had like an hour slot for you to film it each day. So how difficult was that for you?
Well, I was actually slightly tighter than the hour. So the actual, I gave myself an hour of like, it was between 8 and 9 basically, but I had about 10 minutes of time where I could get maybe 2 takes in that time before the light would go. And like, that was like drastically different. You're looking at like, I think it was about 8:45 I'd start. And then by 5 to 9, the light was gone. I couldn't use it because before 2:45 we were sort of like some of the shots we got, like it looked good, but the sky was very obviously blue. And then in obviously past that, you just couldn't see anything without the street lights just making my camera go all ridiculous. But yeah, no, it was just a lot of planning, really. Just being like, let's get it on the. Luckily, I had a few nights to do it on, and we had to perfect it. But it was, it was very tight trying to get it in that period, those 10 minutes.
And what a concept too, Tom. How did you come up with the puck delivery boy idea? It's absolute genius.
So that was between me and Joe. We were talking about it because we were thinking, what is Puck? What does he do? He's a fairy. He works for Titania and Oberon, sort of mainly Oberon, but he flits around. He goes around all this stuff. He has a lot of fun. And we're thinking, who in this lockdown is still going around places, or who normally is like flitting around all over the place. And we were originally thinking with this idea of joggers and how this idea that lots of people have taken up jogging now. But me being an actor that I am, I was like, well, that won't do. I've not got a strong enough motive there to just go out jogging. Can't do that. I want more. And so Joe was like, what about delivery drivers? These people who, and then I was like, oh yeah, and because I live in Bristol, which is a very cycle heavy city. I've got a bike and everything, and I cycle everywhere as it is. And there's and I actually work in a bar where we get delivery drivers in all the time. So yeah, we just went, what about one of these delivery guys who they work for these big companies sometimes, and they flit around and do sort of all the menial tasks, or so to speak, of these people. So why not go with that?
I mean, when I heard the concept, I was in, and then when I saw it, I was just even more in. It was so funny, and what we're seeing more and more and more and more with these videos as we go along is we're just seeing. You kind of take whatever you think you know about the character or about the play and just literally just throw it out the window. We're not bringing you that. We are bringing you Puck the Deliveroo cyclist. And that's what's so much fun. Already this week we've had Ryan playing Edgar from King Lear, but it being arrested for his second jog. You know, it's so much fun. We're just absolutely loving doing this. So before we leave with Tom's video today, we just want to say thank you so much for joining us this week for another Friday night, and we will be back next week at 9 o'clock. But before we leave, we hand over the reins of the show to finish to the wonderful Tom, bringing us Puck as a delivery boy.
Now the hungry lion roars, and the wolf behowls the moon, whilst the heavy ploughman snores, all with weary task fordone. Now the wasted brands do glow, and the screech owl, screeching loud, puts the wretch that lies in woe in remembrance of a shroud. Now it is the time of night, that the graves, all gaping wide, every one lets forth his sprite through the churchyard paths to glide. And we fairies that do run by the triple Hecate's team, from the presence of the sun following darkness like a dream, now are frolic. Not a mouse shall disturb this hallowed house. I am sent with broom before. Peter?
Yep. Cheers, man. Thank you.
To sweep the dust behind the door. I go, look how I go, swifter than the arrow from the Tartar's bow.